Okay, slight update. So if you go to Alembic Tools and open up the data editor here, asset data editor, we have the binding data utility here, right? And it has the settings drop down with an asset path and an input action. So this asset path is where all the data that you use for this binding data tool, it's this path right here. Everything that you export will go in here. Everything that you compile will go in here. And everything is also read from here. Like programmatically, all the data is, looked up here. And it goes in order. So first you want to make sure these settings are correct. And if you try to do anything without the settings set, you'll get these little messages like, please sign a valid asset path and input action from binding data editor settings before continuing. And it'll click a button to bring you there so you can just do it. This, on the other hand, is a little different. It just doesn't do anything unless you have things set up right. But also, if you don't have an asset path, then you can't even load the compiled file from it. So make sure you have a valid asset path. And if you don't, if you have like a path set and you have an input action set and you go to exporter, you can see that you can still actually use it, but if you try to bind something to it or export something from it, you'll get this error saying it failed to export the path or export the asset because the path blah 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 doesn't exist. So you'll know that you messed up and you need to go back to the settings and make sure that this path exists. And now it does exist. So let's clear that, go here. If I try to export now we have this asset. All right, this asset binding. So once you have things set up, let's go ahead and just export one more thing. How about the map? Go to the exporter. We'll do it for gamepad this time. So that's the select button on a gamepad. So we have these for regular PC controls, and we have these for Xbox. And it looks like once you select it, then it wants to use that one. Let's click to change. There we go. And I think this is the select button. By the way, if you're trying to export and you're using the scroll wheel, just keep in mind that if you don't have the window open enough, the export button is actually a little tricky to get to, because if you use the scroll wheel here, then it'll scroll here. And you can scroll down like this and it won't scroll down anymore. You have to be up here, use this wheel or scroll wheel here, or just have the window big enough. Alright, so let's export that one. And now we have two things. And now the compiler comes into play. Once you have as many asset bindings as are necessary for the game, you'll want to load from asset path folder. And what this will do is it'll look in the asset path folder and it'll check each one of the asset bindings. And now you can see all the asset bindings right here, and you can include them in a compilation. So right now there's a bug. If you try to not include one of these and you try to compile, it'll throw some errors when you try to load them or whatever. So just make sure that you have everything that you actually want in here. If you don't, you can just get rid of them from here. Like click this, right? And if you make a mistake, you just load from the asset path folder again. It'll just check here again, reload everything. Yeah. And then you compile. What that does is creates this file, this binding data file. And this binding data file is, for me, so that I can programmatically at runtime know all the data that's from all of these files, basically. And if you try to actually even open this up, you notice it's only 1 kilobyte, right? Where each of these is a kilobyte. It's this big jarbled mess, and that's because I'm using compression on it. It's actually a JSON file. So it's actually, it takes all the information from all these and contains it into a single file, and then compresses that file so that this would be actually on the player's computer, whereas these won't. These will not exist on the actual built product. They'll be stored inside like a pack file or something, some Unity package file or something, right? And they won't even need to be referenced because this right here is all the data we need. So whenever you want to check to make sure what that binding data contains, you can actually load from the compiled file. See? And you'll get a little error, and I know why this happens. Don't worry about it. Just ignore these value cannot be null things. It's difficult to fix right now, and I kind of want to move on, But you get the actual bindings that you exported and compiled. So that's basically the whole gist of this, and the whole reason why I've been working on this is to just centralize all of our data for input, for bindings and the icons associated with them, for the different types of devices that you use. Just want to make sure that it's all very cohesive and very easy to use, or set up, I should say, for people who don't program. So that's what this is, and I would like it if people could actually come in here and do this for every single input action for both keyboard and gamepad. So you choose like this one, this first one, right? This aim mode human inventory. Where is that? Here, aim mode inventory for human. It would have I and select. So we want to bind both of these to an icon, and this one would be the I key for keyboard. This would be the select for gamepad. So in the export, you'd come here and you'd do it for each of these. So this one first, and you go to the PC controls, and where's the I key? Next page. I key. Right, and then you export it. Alright, you choose the same input action again. You go to exporter, and you do it for the gamepad this time. If you choose the same one that you did before, it'll just override it, because it has the same GUID as the actual action, so there's no problems there. So this is for gamepad. This is the select button, which is this again, right? I think so. Alright, load from the folder. You know what it is? One of these actually has a let's see, inventory, select. This has a tap interaction, whereas it was the other one, aim mode, inventory. Oh no, they're both the same. Yeah. But anyways, that's unimportant. These interactions and processors, we'll get into that another time. There's going to probably be some updates to this involving those. so that you can distinguish between the type of action, like if something was tapped or held down or just regularly pressed. I'll I'll update this eventually, but I'm kind of done with this. Like, it works. It's fine. There are some errors. You can ignore them. Things do load in properly. And that's all that matters. And now if you guys could help me out with doing all these, that'd be great. Because there's a lot to go through. And that's about it. This is the whole reason I made this thing. So that non-programmers can help us out.